Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really sensitive yet absolutely crucial topic. We're talking about home. You know, home is supposed to be that one safe haven, right? The one place where you don't have to hide who you are, where you're completely enough just as you are. But what happens when that exact place becomes the battleground where the deepest emotional scars are actually inflicted? That massive disconnect between what a home should be and what it sometimes really is? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack together today.
So I want you to take a second and really think about this. Was your childhood home truly a safe sanctuary? Was it a place filled with unconditional love where you felt you completely belonged? Or was it maybe a place where you constantly felt the need to hide or tiptoe around? Kids are literally hardwired to look to their parents for love and a calm place to retreat to. When that expectation gets shattered, the fallout is silent, but man, it is incredibly destructive.
Look at this number, 50,000. In the year 2008 alone, over 50,000 kids were officially documented as victims of emotional abuse. But here's the thing you really need to take away from this. That huge number, it doesn't even come close to capturing the stifling silence in the hallways, or the agonizing sting of a passing comment at the dinner table. There are hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people out there who never make it into any official record book. The harsh reality is that words leave permanent marks on your soul. Unlike a physical bruise that everyone can see and try to treat, toxic words from parents actually build the invisible foundation of a child's entire personality. The way your parents spoke to you back then, that literally becomes your own inner voice when you're all alone today. There are these invisible scars that nobody else sees, but you end up carrying them around in basically every single detail of your daily life.
Let's move into our first section, attacks on your identity and how they shatter your sense of self.
You're too fat. Why can't you just look normal? Now, the truly painful part here is that this isn't just helpful advice, even though some parents might try to spin it that way. When a parent attacks how you look, they're planting incredibly deep seeds of physical insecurity. They are actively making you look in the mirror and see a problem that needs fixing instead of a human being who inherently deserves love and acceptance.
You see, a parent's most basic job is to teach their kid unconditional self-love. But the tragic reality of these toxic comments is that the child instead learns how to completely pick themselves apart, nitpicking every little detail of their body. It's a direct pipeline to lifelong struggles with body image, and yeah, it can absolutely lead to severe eating disorders down the road.
Then there's this one. Why do you act so weird? Maybe you were just being a kid, naturally exploring the world. But to a toxic parent, your uniqueness is basically a giant target. Sarcastic little remarks like this make a child feel like there is something fundamentally, unfixably wrong with them at their very core. Like their entire makeup is just flawed and unacceptable.
And the impact of being labeled weird? It's devastating, and it lasts a really long time. Kids start filtering their natural movements. They suppress their spontaneity. They literally hold their breath in social settings, absolutely terrified of doing something wrong. Even well into adulthood, you carry this paralyzing fear that people are going to expose these flaws your parents completely made up. You literally stop being you, living in constant fear of judgment. I wish you were never born. These aren't just words blurted out in a moment of anger. This is the absolute, ultimate, cruelest attack on a child's fundamental right to even exist. When a parent actually says they regret having you, it completely shatters your identity and destroys any foundational sense of safety you might have had. This kind of profound rejection, it's practically a fast track to early depression. It makes you feel like an intruder in your own life, like you're this massive burden who doesn't even deserve to take up space in the world. It's honestly an emotional crime that robs a child of their most basic, intuitive right to belong and feel valued.
All right, moving on to section 2, the weight of conditions, where love essentially becomes a transaction. You cost me too much money. It's so exhausting taking care of you. Just imagine the soul-crushing feeling of being treated like a financial burden or a massive hurdle to your own parents. It sends this incredibly harsh message that your mere existence is a cost they really wish they didn't have to pay.
I want you to dig into your own memories for a second here. Did you ever feel like you had to apologize just for having normal human needs? Because that's exactly what happens. Kids learn to make themselves invisible. They hide their feelings, their problems, their goals, all just to avoid exhausting their parents even more. They internalize this brutal lesson that their presence is a debt they can never, ever repay.
And of course, here's the classic comparison trap a lot of us have heard. Why aren't you more like your cousin, or the other kids are so much better? This tactic twists love into an invisible race. And what's worse, it's a race specifically designed for the child to lose every single time. No matter how hard you try, the message is loud and clear. You are simply not good enough.
Constant comparison is essentially a master thief that completely robs you of your self-esteem. It plants this deep-seated feeling of inadequacy. But the most dangerous part is how it poisons your relationships with peers and family members. The very people you are supposed to build close bonds with, suddenly, they're your rivals in a competition you never even signed up for.
You're useless. You're a loser. These labels are so sharp, so short, and just so absolute. Toxic parents throw these words around to break a child's spirit and keep them compliant. And when your parent, who is literally your single source of truth when you're little, tells you that you're useless, you just believe them, no questions asked.
There is a massive, profound difference between correcting a mistake a kid made and defining their entire worth as a person by calling them useless. That label doesn't just fade away like a quick scolding. It morphs into their actual identity. It's like this heavy backpack filled with rocks that a child drags around for the rest of their life, completely dictating what they believe they're allowed to achieve.
This brings us to Section 3, Shattered Trust and the Ultimate Betrayal of Safety.
I'll leave you. One day you'll wake up and I'll be gone. Think about that. For a small child who relies completely and utterly on their parents for physical and emotional survival, the threat of abandonment is the absolute ultimate betrayal of what safety means. It's a direct strike at the very core of our basic human need to survive.
And what does that lead to? A paralyzing fear of abandonment in adult relationships. That old childhood thread basically creates an adult who simply cannot trust. They become the friend or the partner who's constantly waiting for you to say goodbye, totally convinced deep down that who they are is exactly the reason people will eventually leave them.
Then we've got the other side of betraying safety, which I like to call the empty box. I promise we'll do it next time. Sadly, as we all know, next time never actually comes. The pain of this empty box, where a parent constantly breaks promises to a kid looking up at them with so much hope, is a quiet but incredibly lethal killer of any foundation for trust.
You are literally teaching your child that love itself cannot be trusted. When the one person a kid is supposed to rely on constantly breaks their promises, it's basically a masterclass in how not to trust anyone else. The child learns a really brutal lesson. Stop expecting anyone to keep their word, and definitely stop expecting anyone to genuinely show up for you when you need them.
Okay, after unpacking all that heavy stuff, we need to land on this really important bright spot. Section 4, Rewriting Your Story. I want to speak directly to the inner child of anyone watching this right now. If your childhood, that foundational chapter that builds our beliefs, was written with toxic words, I really want you to know that it was never, ever your fault. You hold the pen now. You are absolutely allowed to take up your own space in this world. You're allowed to just be you and be proud of it. So, we're going to wrap up our explainer today with a question for you. Have you experienced any of these situations or toxic words? And more importantly, how are you healing from them today? You have every right to shed those old labels. We'd love for you to share your healing journey in the comments. Honestly, sometimes just knowing you aren't alone and that someone else sees you, hears you, and gets what you went through is the very first real step to getting your voice back. Share this explainer with anyone who might need to hear it today, and always remember, you absolutely deserve to be loved, no strings attached. Thanks so much for watching, and let's keep learning together.